Welcome to this explainer. We are jumping right in today because we have a massive, and I mean literally massive, blueprint to unpack. We're looking at the NeoPioneer TeraForming Node. This is a totally self-sustaining ecosystem designed to scale from a single drop of chilled water all the way up to a global supply line. So think about this for a second. What if we could completely rebuild our global infrastructure? Zero corporate money involved, just starting with water. That's exactly what this system does. We're talking about power-free climate control, guaranteed food security, and absolute land sovereignty. And the craziest part? It doesn't rely on the traditional electrical grid at all. It's built entirely on passive physics and biology to create a life-sustaining refuge, even in the most insanely humid, brutal climates out there. All right, here's our roadmap for this build. 1. Anatomy of a node. 2. Breaking down phase costs. 3. Regional fleet and co-op. 4. Daughter node replication timeline. And 5. Scaling the global network. Section 1. Anatomy of a node. The microclimate physics. Okay, so right off the bat, I love the juxtaposition of high-tech and pure nature here. To manage extreme heat, this node uses a radiative sky canopy loaded with phase-changing materials. It basically acts like a dynamic thermal valve. When the ambient temperature hits 25 degrees Celsius, this canopy opens up and passively dumps heat straight into the freezing vacuum of deep space. No grid power, not a single watt used. It just uses the atmospheric window to vent the heat. And here is where the physical magic happens. At the center of the node, you've got this 30-meter-high water tower. That height is crucial because gravity creates immense hydrostatic pressure, which drives these micro-turbo expanders to make ice in an underground vault. From there, it's just a thermal cascade. You get 4-degree chilled water flowing downhill through a closed loop to cool the labs and homes. Then, that slightly warmed runoff, now sitting beautifully between 10 and 14 degrees and super oxygenated, feeds right into a cold water salmon raceway. The effluent from the salmon then feeds a warmer polyculture lake topped with nitrogen-fixing azolla fern before finally recharging the local aquifer through a beaver wetland. It's a perfect closed-loop domino effect. The node also bakes in some incredible upgrades. Tucked right between the ice vault and the salmon run, there's a cold water crustacean and mollusk cascade. And along those high-velocity water channels, they've installed 3 gravitational vortex water turbines. These just continuously harvest mechanical power without harming any of the aquatic life passing through. Plus, to keep the actual ecosystem pristine and totally free of gridlock, all the tourists have to park a mile away and take a dedicated shuttle service in. Section 2. Breaking down phase costs, the financial blueprint. Now let's talk numbers, because seeing how this actually gets funded is absolutely crucial. Over a 36-month timeline, the capital expenditures are broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1 is all about that core hydrostatic engine, the 30-meter tower, the ice vault, the mesh grid. That runs about $1.85 million and takes the first year. Phase 2 spans months 12 to 24, building out the biological cascade. That's the salmon run, the lake, the lab, clocking in at $1.2 million. Finally, Phase 3 brings in the revenue-generating tourism amenities, a chilled water park, a farm-to-table restaurant, and a seed fuel refinery for $1.45 million. So if we tally all that up, we are looking at a total initial capex of $4.5 million. Think about that for a second. For the price of a couple luxury condos in a major city, you're fully building out an autonomous zero-grid infrastructure hub that literally acts as a living academy for regenerative biology. It's an incredible return on investment. Section 3. Regional fleet and co-op, the local multiplier. Once the node is up, it starts expanding into the region. They deploy this highly profitable fleet of electric and hybrid food trucks. But here's the kicker. These trucks tow zero-power shaved ice trailers. The sub-zero ice vaults inside are chilled directly by the node's microgrid before they even hit the road. That specific setup yields a net annual profit of over $1.2 million. But the real game changer is the Co-op Rancher Alliance. The node gives local farmers free high-nitrogen biofertilizer and duckweed feedstock. In exchange, those ranches have to sign a strict anti-corporate land anchor covenant. Basically, they agree to never use synthetic chemicals, and more importantly, they legally agree to never sell their land to corporate conglomerates or private equity firms. By slashing those debt-heavy input costs for around 20 local ranches and driving up agritourism, this single-parent node becomes a massive economic multiplier. We're talking about a total annual economic impact of nearly $9.5 million injected straight back into the surrounding community. Section 4. Daughter Node Replication Timeline, Cloning the Blueprint. So, how do we replicate this? Cloning a daughter node takes exactly 24 months. The first 6 months are just topographic mapping. You have to find a site with a natural 25-meter elevation drop so gravity can actually run the cooling loops. Months 6 to 12 are for securing seed capital and officially chartering the local worker co-op. Months 12 to 18, the central water tower goes up and the subterranean ice fault manifolds are dropped in using prefab modular parts. And finally, months 18 to 24 are all about biology, seeding the lake with parent Azolla strains, introducing the local beavers, and firing up the mesh communications network. Section 5. Scaling the global network, inland to bioport. Now let's zoom way out. Heavy-haul electric freight rail connects these inland nodes to coastal hubs. And this is where things sound like pure sci-fi, but it is the actual blueprint. Cargo gets loaded onto 380-foot bioorganic vessels. These aren't steel. The hulls are literally grown from dense fungal mycelium, which means they are self-repairing. They cruise using totally silent magnetohydrodynamic drives, 0 moving parts, powered by high-density aluminum air battery stacks. These vessels tow massive barges, loaded with crated water towers, drone carousels for aerial drops, and even feature a 480-square-foot apothecary biofoundry right on board to culture shelf-stable medicines on site. The timeline here shows a really aggressive exponential scaling sequence. Over just 72 months, you go from Phase 1, which is just that single parent core and 2 prototype vessels, all the way to Phase 4. By month 72, you are looking at over 120 active global nodes and a massive fleet of 96 biovessels. They create a continuous, completely non-corporate global trade and automated emergency relief supply line. And what's so fascinating is that whether you are looking at the micro scale, literally handing out free fertilizer to 20 local ranches, or the macro scale of managing 120 global nodes, moving medicine on fungal-grown ships, the core ethos doesn't change one bit. The whole shebang is explicitly designed to lock out billionaire land grabs and keep the power and the infrastructure entirely in the hands of the workers. So this explainer has really highlighted how a deep understanding of physics, biology, and cooperative community structure can just completely bypass our fragile grid dependencies. We've traced the whole journey, right? From venting ambient heat into deep space, all the way to deploying global bioports. And it leaves us with one incredibly provocative question. If this exact blueprint is fully open and highly replicable, how quickly is this going to reshape our entire world?